Hey there, my fabulous sewing friends. Welcome back to the channel where we turn simple things like a soup bowl into stylish and functional bags and cases. Today, we're making something super practical, the snap and store eyewear case. It is sleek, it's easy to make, and best of all, no raw edges inside. If you wear glasses, sunglasses, or just love sewing cute little organizers, this is for you. And yes, you heard me right. We're using a soup bowl to create the pattern. Because who needs fancy tools when you have a kitchen? So grab your supplies, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and let's get sewing. So before we dive in, let's talk about what you need in terms of supplies and notions. You need fabric for your main exterior and lining, both measuring 8.5 inches wide by 9.5 inches high. And this is 21.5 centimeters by 24 centimeters for my team metric friends. Next, you need a pair of scissors. Then you need a thread cutter. If you don't have a thread cutter, you can use your regular scissors. You need double-sided tape. This is the magic of sewing. Then you need some sewing clips to hold your pieces together. You need a pair of snap buttons. And then you need a soup bowl. So this soup bowl must be round and measure at least 7 inches in diameter. Then you need a ruler. And then you need a fabric marker. Now it's time to draw the pattern. First, you're going to take your lining fabric and lay it right side up with the 8.5 inch edge running horizontally and the 9.5 inch edge running vertically. Now we're going to flip it to the wrong side. This is where we are going to be drawing our pattern. Then you're going to take your round dish, aka your new favorite sewing tool, and center it along the width of the fabric. Like I mentioned earlier, your dish should be round and it should measure at least 7 inches, which is 18 centimeter in diameter. So, but if yours is 7.5 inches or even 8 inches, that would also work. Anything over 8 inches, let's not go there. It's a no-no. Next, we're going to be centering this dish, meaning the open edge of the dish, along the width of the fabric, and then you're going to be placing it 1/2 inch from the top edge and then trace a circle. After that first circle, after the circle has been traced, we're going to be drawing a straight line 5 inches down from the top edge of the circle. Once you draw this line at 5 inches down from the top edge of the circle, you're going to take your bowl again, the same bowl actually, and you're going to be centering it again along the width of the fabric. But this time around, you're going to be placing it on this 5-inch line. Make sure your bowl is well centered again, so you don't have two circles that are unaligned. So you center your bowl again on this 5-inch line this time around, and you're going to be tracing another circle. While tracing, you notice that you cannot complete the second circle because the fabric already runs out, which is totally fine. Just stop your drawing wherever the fabric ends. Now you're going to be connecting the edges where both circles meet. You would notice that the circles meet at a particular angle on both sides. Make sure you connect these angles with a straight line. Once this is done, you could measure the from the second line now to the bottom edge of the fabric, and anything from 3.25 inch, 3.5 inches, fine. Anything more than that, then you might have to trim it to 3.5. Then at the bottom edge of the fabric, you're going to measure 1/2 inch in from both sides, and you're going to be connecting those marks to the curve, that's to the angle where you just connected a line. Make sure those marks, the 1 inch marks, the 1/2 inch marks, connect to back to the angle on the second line. If you have a curved ruler, you can use this to smooth everything out. So you're going to be cutting along this new, not so semicircle shape, and then cut through and round the former circle. Once this is done, your pattern is finished, and you now have whatever this is. Now you're going to be placing your lining fabric, your exterior fabric with the 8.5 inch edge running horizontally and the 9.5 inch edge vertically. You're going to be using the lining pattern to trace the exact same shape onto the exterior fabric. Cut the pattern out from the exterior fabric. Now we're going to be cutting our foam using the same pattern, but this time around you're going to be reducing it by 1/2 inch on all sides so that it stays out of our seam allowance. Once this is done, you're going to be gluing the foam to the wrong side of the exterior fabric, making sure it is well centered. Then we're going to be sewing the exterior and the lining together. To sew the exterior and the lining together, we're going to place the exterior and lining fabrics right sides together so that the edges align perfectly. They are going to be clipping all around to hold everything in place. Once clipping is done, we're going to head to our sewing machine to stitch at about 3/8 of an inch from the edge. This is 1 centimeter for my metric friends. But we're going to be leaving a 5.5 inch gap. 5.5 inches is 14 centimeters. We're going to be leaving this 5.5 inch gap at the bottom edge for turning. So the bottom edge is the straight edge. Once stitching is done, you're going to trim the sewing allowance to about 1/4 of an inch, except at the turning gap. So pinking shears work great here, but if you do not have pinking shears, you can use your regular scissors. Just make sure you do not cut into your seams. Now at the gap, fold the seam allowance to the wrong side and apply double-sided tape to keep it in place. Actually, this is if you prefer using double-sided tape, or if you're even using fabric, you could just press with a hot iron. But because I'm using faux leather on one side, I decided to fold the seam allowance with my double-sided tape to keep everything in place. Then you're going to turn the whole thing right side out and use a blunt tool like the back of your scissors to push out the curves. So push out curves, corners, and everything to make sure everything stays nice and flat. You're going to press it flat and clip the opening shut. Top stitch at about 1/8 of an inch from the edge all around, and the gap is now neatly closed. Now it's time to give this case some shape. You're going to flip the panel so that the lining side is facing you, and you're going to make sure the round edge is at the top and the straight edge is at the bottom. Find the points where both circles meet. This is where the case is going to fold. Fold it along this line, aligning the curved bottom edge with the top circle edge. Clip one side first. You might notice that the second side doesn't line up perfectly flat. So this is because this is not just a boring flat pouch. So just try and push it in and adjust until everything aligns properly. Clip everything in place, then head to your sewing machine and top stitch round the case, except for the straight bottom edge. Now it's starting to look like an actual case. Once stitching is done, we just have one final step to do, and this is adding the snap buttons. So we're going to be installing the male snap button on the flap. The top curved edge is now the flap, so we're going to be installing the male snap button there about 1.5 inch from the top edge, centered across the width. 1/2 inch is 13 millimeters or 1.3 centimeters. Then you're going to place your eyewear inside this case. This ensures a snug fit. Then use the male snap's position to find the perfect spot for the female snap button. Next, we're going to be installing the female snap according to our snap kit instructions. And just like that, our snap and store eyewear case is done. No raw edges, a sleek finish, and all from a simple soup bowl. Talk about sewing magic. If you had fun making this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I've got plenty more creative sewing projects coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss out. Now I know some of you are already thinking about making one in every color, and I fully support that decision. But before you go on a sewing spree, I would love to see your own version. Tag me on Instagram at easy_sew so I can admire your work and maybe even feature it in a future video. Also tell me in the comments what's the most unexpected thing you've ever used as a sewing template. I mean, today we just used a soup bowl. So at this point, anything is fair game. That's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me. Keep sewing, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy sewing!